If you've ever asked yourself, are psychedelics right for me, or should I take psychedelics? Well, that is a very big question to ask. And although ultimately only you are going to be able to answer that question for yourself, the chances are that without some good information about risks and safety in psychedelic spaces and contraindications, and without a little bit of preparatory groundwork, you might not be able to actually answer that question very accurately. Talking to a doctor or a therapist might be a good place to start, but I'm not here to tell you what to do. Rather, we're going to look at some of the reasons that some people do choose to take psychedelics, as well as talk about some of the reasons why you should definitely not take psychedelics. So stick around till the end to hear those. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why some people choose to take psychedelics, and these reasons are often referred to as their intentions. And intention can be a really powerful tool when used mindfully, but with psychedelics, self-awareness is really key to ensuring that we know our reasons for wanting to take a substance, and for determining if there's any underlying motivations or expectations or desires that we don't realize or admit are actually affecting our intention or our decision making. Sometimes people have multiple reasons, and it's common to have more than one intention. What's really important is that people know their reasons and can be honest with themselves. Some people take drugs or psychedelics spontaneously or impulsively, and although many of these substances are relatively safe for a healthy and normal human physiology, it's always going to be better to take them only after making a well thought out plan and with mindful research, consultation, and preparation. This isn't to say that there's any right or wrong way of taking psychedelics, or that one way is necessarily better than the other, although it doesn't seem like a huge stretch to suggest that planning a little bit rather than being impulsive may actually be better. But regardless, the truth is a lot of the benefits that people look for when taking psychedelics are best cultivated not only by knowing their intentions and knowing how to prepare and how to stay safe, but also how to integrate their experiences afterwards so that they can find the results that they're looking for. So one of the reasons that some people choose to take psychedelics is for personal healing. And this could be working through things like depression or anxiety, addictions, or other mental health struggles. We also hear a lot these days about using psychedelics in the treatment of things like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or other trauma-related conditions. There's a lot of excitement nowadays about the potential that psychedelics may have to treat some of these persistent and challenging struggles that people face and that Western medical models have struggled to resolve. Despite a lot of fascinating research being done on psychedelic substances these days with regards to psychedelics and mental health treatment, it's not all about personal healing. Another related reason that people turn towards psychedelics and plant medicines is for personal or spiritual development. Psychedelics are well known for bringing about mystical experiences, and they're known as being substances that profoundly alter our consciousness. The most notable in this regard are often referred to as entheogens, and Wikipedia defines these as psychoactive substances that induce alterations in perception, mood, consciousness, cognition, or behavior. Much like psychedelics, but they go on to say, for the purposes of engendering spiritual development or in otherwise sacred contexts. Entheogens are used for religious, magical, shamanic, or spiritual purposes in many different parts of the world. Many people use psychedelics for spiritual reasons, just as different people and groups throughout history have used these substances ceremonially or ritualistically. We see this evidenced in ancient paintings of mushrooms or in the plethora of practices in the Amazon, ranging anywhere from healing to divination to spiritual warfare. And these types of themes are common in a lot of different cultures that use psychoactive plant medicines. Nowadays in Western psychedelic culture, these realms of spirituality and personal healing are often intermingled. Although this can be a little bit of a tricky recipe to balance the flavors in when you have this mix of powerful substances that bring about these states of ecstasy and enlightenment. And combine that with a largely egocentric, competitive, status-driven society, and the resulting taste of that recipe can sometimes be a little bit toxic new agey for my taste. But that's not to say anything against spirituality in general. Just that particular flavor can kind of come on a little bit strong sometimes. So not to diverge too far on recipes or taste profiles or unsolicited opinions, it's not surprising to see a lot of people starting to view psychedelics as catalysts for growth. And both growth and transformation are two words that we hear a lot of decorating the sentences of the newest starry-eyed believers in psychedelics. Converts who tried these substances and were fortunate enough to have a good experience to bring home and tell all of their loved ones about over and over and over again. If you've been that person, or there's one in your family or friend group, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. But it's not just that. Oftentimes when people talk about their psychedelic experiences, they start to sound a little bit crazy. But even these concepts of growth and transformation can be a bit of a challenging concept for people on the outside to really open up to. And we all grow, right? Growth comes from living life. Growth comes from healing. And the process of healing is always transformative in its own way, right? And I think when we put it in the context of a human life, where life itself is this continual process of transformation and growth, and we see wisdom as something that comes from healing as well, right? Then we can see that growth and transformation ultimately really come down to these very human things, these things that we all experience. And when it comes to healing and growth and transformation with psychedelics, often this is like feeling a deeper sense of belonging or peace or comfort in one's spirit, or in their being. And it can be things like forgiveness or things like learning to give or receive love. Psychedelics may deliver these insights and ideas and healing in a unique way, but if you find yourself feeling FOMO when your friend tells you for the 18th time about her psychedelic transformation, don't worry about it, okay? You're not missing out on anything. Life, sober or not, is the craziest trip of all. Let's be real. But of course, it's also not just about spirituality and growth that motivates people to take psychedelics. Some people may take psychedelics just out of a deep curiosity, maybe seeking a new experience, or maybe they're seeking inspiration or to enhance their creativity in some way. Psychedelics can shift our perception in various ways, and some people find this to be beneficial for artistic processes or for self-expression in various forms. It could be dancing, singing, making art, like painting or drawing, or some people use psychedelics to assist in their storytelling. All forms of creativity and expression. And expression can really lead into one of the other reasons that some people choose to take psychedelics, and we could kind of lump those into social or recreational purposes. Psychedelics are widely used in festival and party settings or other entertainment settings, places where people come for enjoyment or for connection or for entertainment. I don't doubt that many of you have enjoyed an altered state around the campfire with friends or beneath the stars or watching a magical sunrise. The word psychedelic comes from Greek roots. It translates to something like mind manifesting. That's a common translation that we often hear, right? And one way that we can think outside of mind manifesting is by keeping in mind, no pun intended, that psychedelics can influence all of our sensory perceptions. And they can really shift and change our internal experience into a more heart-centered one, or even an earth-centered awareness. But psychedelics aren't all about their effects on our minds. They can be incredibly useful tools for increasing our awareness of and our connection to our bodies, and also our innate internal sensory experiences. And so some people feel that the effects of psychedelics can really contribute positively to some social settings and entertainment settings where, for example, music and movement and laughter and togetherness and these types of things can be perceived as becoming enhanced or experienced in a novel way. Some people find that taking psychedelics in social settings or with friends or with other people can be really beneficial and oftentimes transformative in its own way. Again, I'm sure that many of you have experienced with your friends, perhaps if you've experimented with psychedelics, an increased ability to connect with each other on a different level of relatability. that's perhaps based more off of feeling than necessarily words. And this type of experience can be really helpful in cultivating a sense of belonging and a sense of relationship with people and a deepening of relationships, you know? Some people are able to open up in a way to experience friendship in a way that maybe they hadn't been able to before, especially if they were blocked from doing so, from connecting with others in an authentic way due to trauma or self-doubt or developmental blocks or anything else like that. Oftentimes, all of the different reasons for taking psychedelics overlap because these substances have such a broad range of effects and experiences that they can bring about. Oh, and I guess the last reason to mention, just to stand in solidarity with the unfortunate, is that some people take psychedelics just by accident. So those are just a few of the reasons that some people may choose to take psychedelics, but there are also reasons why you maybe shouldn't take psychedelics. And there are also reasons why you definitely should not take psychedelics. So let's take a look at some of those. Nope. 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 Drop it. Drop it. Nope. Holy moly, I tell you, these cats, man. It's important to understand that when taking any substance into your body, there's the risk of things going wrong. There's the risk of substances clashing, or whatever substance you're taking clashing with different physical or mental health disorders or issues maybe some of you are facing. And this is something that we refer to as contraindications. And it's important to know that whatever substance that you're thinking about ingesting into your body, you need to know how it may interact with anything else that you may be taking, whether it's medications, supplements, or, recreational drugs or alcohol or anything like that, as well as if there are any physical or psychological risks for you that might not align with safe psychedelic use. Aside from contraindications, which are really like the foundational, most basic level of staying safe with psychedelics, one really good reason not to take psychedelics is to fit in with a certain group of people, or to feel cool, or to feel included in something. Taking psychedelics is a really big deal, and the experience can often be really strong and unpredictable. And it has a way of being able to shift and change in intensity very rapidly. And sometimes, especially if it's not familiar, it can become really overwhelming. Look, we don't want to put ourselves into a situation where our motivations and our choices aren't actually aligned with our intentions for taking psychedelics in the first place. If you feel like you need to take psychedelics to fit in, or to feel included in a certain group, or to feel liked or valued by somebody, then just know that not one of those people, if they are pressuring you in any way, is worth sacrificing or changing yourself to suit them, or doing something that you're not 100% comfortable with. And if anybody's pressuring you to do anything that you're not comfortable with, then these are definitely not people who you want to devote a lot of energy to, and definitely not the type of people that you want to spend the next 12 hours under the influence of a psychedelic substance with. Remember, taking psychedelics is definitely not a badge of honor. They don't make you in any way superior or better than anyone else, and they certainly don't make you more enlightened. And anyone who makes you feel less than they are, or who displays this type of superiority, they're definitely not going to be worth spending your time with. Another reason not to take psychedelics is because of depression, anxiety, or recurring trauma symptoms, or things like PTSD. Now, I know what you're thinking, because a lot of the studies that are coming out nowadays, and a lot of the interest in these substances is specifically regarding their potential for helping to treat some of these conditions. But I just want to say that simply having one of these conditions alone is not going to be enough of a reason to choose to take psychedelics. Because the fact is, depending on the severity of the things that someone is experiencing, psychedelics might not actually be a good fit, and in some cases they can actually cause a lot of harm. The same goes for anyone who reads a study or an article about psychedelics for XYZ, or hears a podcast about a miracle cure. The psychedelic or plant medicine experience is not like a lottery that we just throw money at for tickets, looking for opportunities to have our problems taken away. Just as we said for PTSD, just matching our symptoms with a psychedelic substance that is showing promise for treatment in that area is not going to be enough of a reason to try them, especially if you have any health or wellness outcomes that you're looking to solve through using psychedelics or plant medicines. You're going to be best served by having those conversations with a doctor or therapist who is informed about psychedelic-assisted therapy. It's important to know that we're stable enough in our minds and bodies to be able to go through a potentially really challenging or potentially very intense experience and be able to come through the other side with the benefit that we're looking for. If you or someone you know happens to be feeling really desperate for help and is thinking about trying to find that help in psychedelic or plant medicine experiences, oftentimes it proves to be a lot more beneficial to try and find some help outside of psychedelics first in the human world, where then we can establish the support network and professional supports that are going to make that type of endeavor potentially possible in the future. Another reason not to take psychedelics is just because you want to see visions or hallucinations. It's important to know that taking psychedelics is not like throwing on a movie and watching it unfold. They come with all sorts of other effects, and some of those might be less desirable than what some of you are probably imagining. For example, oftentimes with psychedelics, visions and hallucinations can come with intense nausea, or they can come with things like a rapid heart rate, severe shaking, sweating, or even vomiting or foaming at the mouth in some cases. And also, the visionary aspects can sometimes become quite overwhelming and even frightening for these reasons, especially with some of the more powerful psychedelics like DMT and some of these other tryptamines. Now, I don't say that to scare everyone off, but rather to highlight the unpredictability of psychedelic experiences and to suggest that outside of talking to one's doctor and therapist, aligning one's dosage and their setting with their personal set and intentions is going to make intense experiences that much easier to navigate. But visions can become very frightening when we're not prepared. So if you're just curious about the visual effects of psychedelics and you don't have deeper reasons for exploration, then maybe just stick to YouTube simulations. Seriously. And last but not least, another reason not to take psychedelics is to escape or avoid our reality, a situation or person or any responsibility that we may have. They're not a panacea, right? They're not going to take away our problems, and the only escape that we may find is going to be very temporary. And whatever it is that we're trying to escape is still going to be waiting for us when we come back, and likely is going to be more of a mess than how we left it. Oftentimes, when people use psychedelics to escape reality or to avoid a certain situation or problem, it ends up making that problem worse or causing a lot of trouble in their lives or relationships. So again, these are just a few reasons why some people choose to take psychedelics and a few reasons why some people should not take psychedelics. If you want to get the full picture on staying safe with psychedelics and how to work with psychedelics for personal growth and transformation or whatever your intentions are, consider checking out the 7-step framework for psychedelic use. This simple framework is designed to help people create the greatest chances of finding their optimal benefit from their experience, and to avoid some of the risks and harms that can occur in these experiences as well as in these communities and ceremonies and other spaces. There's a link for that in the description below. If you enjoyed this content, please consider dropping a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Like the video, and if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. All of it helps this channel achieve its mission of helping people avoid harm and harmful outcomes in psychedelic spaces. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.